ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, show made for the fans by a fan. This is the Fan Show. And of course, I'm your host as always, Richard Tiemann. This is your Thursday edition of Football and Nonsense. I'd like to welcome all of you to the program this evening/afternoon. It is another Thursday, which means we're going to wrap up another Fan Show week here. Tomorrow is going to be a special day. No show, but I'm going to go see the good people of Elephant Gun Riot tear down the Spokane Knitting Factory as they open for the most lovely and talented all-girl AC/DC tribute group, Hell's Bells. I feel like today is going to be one that calls for the applause button and the cheer button a lot, but you know, I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. If we're rolling and we're setting them up and knocking them down, and of course, with every episode, we want to first let you know what you can expect, which is I have a Fan Show first timer, Christopher Thornton, and he is going to be joining me. He is the co-host with my friend Zach Goodall of Locked on Jags. Zach couldn't be on the show today. I thought this would be the perfect opportunity. I like to think that I know a fan of all 32 teams out there, some teams more fans than others. I don't know that many Jaguar fans, and this is kind of the year that I feel there should be a lot of you out there. Not that there's a bunch of bandwagon fans, but you know, maybe that I got to know a few more of you. So Chris will join us in Zach's absence. Zach, of course, will be invited win, lose, or draw, which obviously that won't happen on Championship Sunday next week, so maybe we'll hear from him. But Jags fans, this episode's for you. I'm genuinely curious to know like your feelings as far as this season and this postseason run. We've heard plenty from Vikings and Eagles fans because that's the big Foles-Keenum showdown, the one that we all knew was going to happen at the beginning of the season. But now we get Bortles and Brady. And yeah, I mean, look, we all want it to be some momentous or monumental quarterback matchup like Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady, but it never is. You know, it's Tom Brady versus the Jaguars defense, and it's Blake Bortles versus the Patriots defense. If you want to get into a real true this person versus this person, you watch either WWE or UFC, and simple as that, or boxing, I guess. But not a lot of people watch boxing anymore, especially after the big, great white hype that was Conor McGregor versus Floyd Money Mayweather. But with that, let's go ahead and get into the headlines. And the headlines are, as we mentioned yesterday, there was a lot of moving and shaking going on. Coach Mike Mularkey from the Tennessee Titans elected not to do an extension with them. He decided that it was best to part ways. And, yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what happens there in Tennessee, because I thought he was the guy. And the Titans, according to Jim Wyatt, have completed an interview with Panthers defensive coordinator Steve Wilks for the team's head coaching job. So there is that movement as far as Tennessee. I guess Josh McDaniels is still a favorite in Tennessee, even though he's pretty much already taken the Colts job. Thing is, he can't take any job until the Patriots are done with their postseason, and they still have one more round and then possibly another after that, be it the Super Bowl. So we won't know anything really officially until it's, well, official, and that will be after the Super Bowl. That's when, there's already some dominoes that have fallen into place, a few pieces that have been put into this particular offseason puzzle, but you can't complete it until the season is officially over in every way, shape, and form, and that's when we have crowned a new Super Bowl champion. So we're waiting for the Josh McDaniels domino to fall, the Matt Patricia domino to fall, the Pat Shurmur domino to fall. Roger Goodell sent a memo to all 32 NFL teams that Executive VP Joe Lockhart is stepping down. I don't know if that's really like important news, but Goodell will also be attending Sunday night's NFC Championship game in Philadelphia. Funny, he's not going to be attending the AFC Championship game in New England. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. We get it. We get it. But Blake Bortles and Tom Brady, my. What do you say about this? Maybe I should save it all for Chris when he comes on to see his thoughts on the matter. But the NFC Championship, we had Chad Columber on the show last night, a member of the Indoor Football League, or now the National Arena League, I guess I should say, the Carolina Cobras. And he is a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan, born and raised in Philly. He is there right now. He will be in that parking lot tailgating. He's going to try to get his dog head to wear around as well, like a lunatic and a madman that we love them for. And it was funny because, we give Eagles fans such a bad time for being unruly fans and rude and a lot of misconduct and behavior. But really, I mean, what's that saying? That as long as there's somebody that's worse than you, then all you have to worry about is not being the worst. So I wonder if Philly fans look at Bills fans every year and just go, thank you. Because as long as you guys keep doing crazy shit, nobody's looking at us. Now, the spotlight may have shifted now that they're in the postseason and have advanced. But Bills fans, I tell you, man, that is a special breed. And it seems like there's something that happens every single year, whether it's inappropriate behavior in the stands, inappropriate things being thrown onto the field from the stands, and then people being put through or jumping through flaming tables. Like, I don't know. I can figure out Buffalo Bills fans about as well as I can figure out the 2017 Jacksonville Jaguars, and Chris and I will talk about that as well. Let's see. Mike Rice reported that while Tom Brady was present for warm-ups, the Patriots note on their injury report that he didn't take part in the rest of practice. The Steelers, according to their official Twitter, have named Randy Fitchner the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. And, John Gruden, he's the guy in Oakland. And then we've had Coach Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator for the Steelers. He stepped down. So there's been some movement, but not a lot. We've got a few teams with their ideal candidates. Seahawks had a big shakeup, minus Pete Carroll, which I'm not going to say he's the problem. I think it would take a lot more than one. And it wasn't even a losing season. They just missed the playoffs. I think it would take a lot more than that to get Pete Carroll out of there. But I do think he's one of those guys that it may not always be all up to him. But for him to just constantly see the glass is 3/4 full, I don't buy it. And if it's true, I don't like it. I'm not a Seahawks fan at all. And if I was a Seahawks fan, I would be going absolutely crazy. Now, the firing of Darrell Bevell is a huge move in the right direction for them. Ask any Seahawks fans. But whose decision from start of the season to possible postseason was it to keep a guy like Blair Walsh on the roster? Because the year prior, or was it 2 years? I don't know. There was that whole fiasco where the Cardinals and the Seahawks played Sunday Night Football prime time, or was it Thursday? It was one of the prime times, okay? Look, I'm reaching here without having the stuff right in front of me. But you guys know the game I'm referring to. It ended in a tie, in a kicker's duel where it came down to each kicker and they both missed. And the coaches had two very different responses to their kicker. Bruce Arians, B.A., the badass himself, said, you're a professional. You got to make those kicks. This ain't high school. And Pete Carroll was like, "You're still our guy. It's okay." Like the pat on the back, like, "Who's my big guy? Who's my big guy? You are. You are." And okay, encouragement, not encouragement. It's tough at the professional level. It really is, because kickers, you do get paid as a professional athlete to do your job, and neither of them did that night. Now, when they had the second game against each other, it did come down to a kick. Guess whose kicker made it? Yeah, Arizona's. And so then they got rid of Hauschka and enter Blair Walsh. Why that was the first name on your kicker candidate roster list, I don't know, especially when it was the year before that he missed the big kick against your team in the postseason, and Vikings fans had to suffer through yet another year of misery. So, yeah, it was about 2 years ago that happened. So, back to my initial question, is it Pete Carroll's decision to keep a guy like that on the roster all season long, and why is he doing that? There's been a lot of questionable calls when it came to roster movement, coaching staff, and you just wonder, like, who has the final say and who's saying what. Because they got rid of Darrell Bevell. That's great, but was that Pete's call finally? Was that the front office saying enough is enough? Because the fans were letting him have it. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't colorful at all. It was very bad. So good on them, I guess. We will see what their new hires bring to the table. Schottenheimer is the guy that's going to be calling the shots on the offense for them, and Ken Norton Jr. will be calling the shots on the defense. They pulled the fast one on the 49ers there. My Niners wanted Ken Norton as the assistant head coach and the linebackers coach, but Seahawks said, "Hey, be our DC," and he's like, "Okay," and I'm like, "You suck." So with that, then, we're going to go ahead and go to our first commercial break. I will welcome my first guest of the evening, my only guest this Thursday, but still, it'll be fun, so don't go anywhere. We've got more of the Fan Show coming up right after this.
This is The Sheet.
Gets me all revved up. My face is now red. My ears are just freaking boiling.
He's so raw that Sky hates him.
Yeah, he had 51 touchdowns, 4,900 total yards.
I know y'all like that, but I got to run. And only in Alabama that could happen, I have to say.
They're so good, man. They would win the Big Ten if they were in the Big Ten.
You could be doing something vision-based in front of you and reach down and grab a handful of insane goodness.
Give it to him. Kudos. I'm clapping like a golfer. Very good, Johnny. I'm proud of you.
Wow. You guys agree on something again? I'm very impressed. You ever had a bad week? Just you walk outside, step in a puddle, like right when you walk outside. I mean, how's there a puddle right outside your house? Or you stand on the curb and somebody drives by and splashes water up on you? Or it's just raining on you, not anyone else?
I will tell you, before you go any further, I cannot hear Chad when he speaks.
Good. You're listening to The Sheet, man. I don't really know what we're doing.
Every Saturday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. right here on WBLZ Sports.
Whether it be your industrial, commercial, or residential needs, Gen Service is the electrical contractor for you. The Gen Service team has the expertise, commitment, and educational years to help you solve all your electrical concerns. They have you in their best interest with helpful suggestions to accommodate your every want. Give them a call, no matter the size of the job, at 740-438-7173. Mention WBLZ Sports, and you'll get a discount. That's Gen Service, 740-438-7173.
This is Nick Ficarelli, the mad scientist of sports. Join me and Dr. D, Derek Jones, live every Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific, for the Mad Scientist Sports Lab. The big intellects, the experiments on the chalkboard, and the guest subjects will be rolling in. Mad Scientist Sports Lab, only on WBLZ Sports, where we got balls.
Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing. He has over 30 years of painting experience. He's interior, exterior, commercial, or residential. Doug Peffer covers it all. Is your house looking ugh? We'll call on Doug. Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing, 404-966-3361. Mention WBLZ Sports and get a special We've Got Balls discount. That's Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing, 404-966-3361.
Check out Thursday Night Tailgate, where NFL legends live on. We bring you 5 NFL legends every week, sharing their stories and insights, plus our spotlight on the positive. Hear which players are doing great things in their communities. Now on WBLZ Sports Talk Radio and WBLZSports.com.
ladies and gentlemen. We are back, and joining me is the co-host of Locked On Jaguars. He is Chris Thornton. How you doing today, Chris?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, and I think, obviously, to say that you're doing good is an understatement. The whole week, everybody's been talking about the Vikings and their walk-off touchdown, and then, of course, the Eagles with backup quarterback Nick Foles doing the upset against Atlanta. But, not a lot of people have talked about the Jaguars and their dominance over the Steelers. It was more of like, what the hell's wrong with the Steelers? So let's get it from a Jaguars fan's perspective. What's the feeling, the mood been like since, obviously, very good 2017? You get into the playoffs, you're a number 3 seed above anything, and then you go and you take it to the Bills, a low-scoring game, but you get past that round, and then in Pittsburgh, you guys lay down 45 points. You're in the AFC Championship game. Give me some emotion, give me some feelings. Let's hear it.
Well, I can tell you one thing. This city's excited. Everybody's embracing the Jaguars at this point. If you would have told me that we were going to score 45 points this past weekend, I wouldn't have believed you, especially after the 10-point outing against the Bills. But they did it. They scored plenty of points, and granted, the defense let up a lot of points, but, nobody's going to let that really rain on the parade that the Jags are in the AFC Championship. Something I definitely didn't think of that would happen at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, as far as the quarterbacks that we have in the Final Four, the eliminated quarterbacks, we know those names, Matt Ryan, Ben Roethlisberger, Jared Goff, all of those quarterbacks that have been eliminated since the playoffs started are franchise quarterbacks. And here you have backup Nick Foles, backup who should be starter, in all honesty, Case Keenum, and then Blake Bortles, who at the beginning of the season and then even some parts throughout, there was a lot of question if he was going to be the guy, if you guys missed the playoffs or were one and done, that he would be out, and that the only thing that was going to save his spot and his job in Jacksonville is like a Super Bowl or bust. But I feel like, it's a lot of pressure to put on a guy when there was a lot of things wrong with the Jaguars that have since kind of been corrected. But you have Leonard Fournette, who's been a huge help, I think Rookie of the Year, even above Alvin Kamara. But that defense is so dangerous. You talked about letting Pittsburgh score a lot of points. There's 3 Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers on that offense, in Ben, Bell, and Brown, and you're not going to keep them out of the end zone forever. You're just not, no matter how good your defense is. So the fact that it got as high scoring as it did was a surprise to me, but this defense is dangerous. It is as good as they come.
This defense is the reason why we're where we're at this point. The way this defense has been built from the ground up has just been phenomenal. Both through the draft and through lofty free agency pickups that, people around the league have always made fun of the Jags. Oh, look, another big free agent signing to Jacksonville. And this past year, it was no different with Calais Campbell and A.J. Boye. But, man, those guys have been home run hits. Really, you don't really see teams have as many home runs as the Jags might have had this past season with both draft picks and free agency with Calais Campbell, A.J. Boye, Barry Church, Leonard Fournette, Cam Robinson, who was good before the injury, has kind of been up and down since then. And it's been a fun season, and it's not over yet, which is weird to say for Jags fans this late in January.
Now, of course, defense wins championships. We've seen that with teams like the 2015 Denver Broncos with 40-year-old Peyton Manning. We saw that with the Baltimore Ravens and Trent Dilfer, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with John Gruden and Brad Johnson. So as much as you'd like to have a well-balanced team and a high-powered offense, it is your ability to stop the other offense that is what matters, and there's no tougher test than what you guys have in store for you this Sunday against the Patriots. Now, some people are of course, we're looking for storylines, right? We want to talk and hype these games up as best we can. And some people are saying that this is the work of Tom Coughlin, who has a very good record against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Now, is that reaching for storyline, or is there legitimate claim to what people are saying when it comes to this matchup between you guys and the New England Patriots.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but it always helps to have a guy in your organization that has done this before, that has beaten a team like the Patriots. But the thing about the Patriots is they're always getting better. Somehow, some way, they're getting better, which is terrifying because they always seem to be the best already. But it's really going to come down to fundamental football. I've seen a lot of people say the Jaguars are going to have to play near perfect football to beat the Patriots, and that might sort of be the case because I think that you kind of have to do that for almost all football games. But this Jags defense, I think, really has a shot to kind of suffocate Tom Brady. And we all know if you can get pressure on Brady, you're going to make him falter. I mean, the Chiefs were able to do it week 1 this year, causing several turnovers in that blowout on opening night. And if the offense can match with points, then I think the Jags are going to have almost a similar, outcome like they did Pittsburgh. Hopefully they won't let up as many points, but they don't have – the Patriots don't have an Antonio Brown, but they do have a Gronk, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah, we will talk about the matchup. One thing that I wanted to get your thoughts on, though, is, everybody was speaking so highly of the potential rematch between the Steelers and the Patriots, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people that because of the star power that each one of those teams have, they really wanted to see it, as well as the history there. Mike Tomlin not having a very good record at all against Belichick and Brady and wanting to have another crack at them, especially with future Hall of Famers on the offense. But, Big Ben had an otherwise great season, again, as the Steelers quarterback, and he had to deal with some injuries on his offense as far as some of his weapons go. But when it came to the matchup with the Jaguars both times, he was not himself. And so I don't know if we can expect to see something like that when your defense faces Tom Brady. But tell me why it is that the Jags are going to win this Sunday, because I know that you guys believe that that's a real possibility, because obviously not many people are going to give anyone a chance against the Patriots the further you get into the postseason.
I think it's really going to come down to the pass rush. The Jags obviously deeming themselves Saxonville after a monster year from the defensive line. You have a guy like Calais Campbell who had 14 and a half sacks, a guy like Yannick Ngakoue who had 12. You had 4 guys who had over 8 sacks. So there's great balance and depth in the D-line. And I think that's going to allow the Jags to continually bring pressure to Brady and make him have to get the ball out quicker, which is really hard to do against this elite secondary. So Tom Brady's going to have to be on his A game. And if he can't find an open guy fast, he's most likely going to get sacked. So I think it's going to really come down to if the Jags pass rush can get home, I think that's what will win them the game.
What do you think is the best way to approach a game like this? Because obviously we've seen throughout history, Tom Brady, if he gets rattled, he gets off his game. However, that being said, he's only gotten better at getting rattled and then getting back on point. Like, you can't rattle in one quarter and expect that to be the case for the rest of the game. You can't rattle him the second quarter and expect him to come out at halftime still rattled. So you have to almost, foot to the throat and just not let up. What do you feel should be the Jags' game plan defensively going into this? Is it come out hard and put him on his back as often as you can the first half, or kind of give him a little bit of working room and then you hammer him the second half?
I think it's kind of what you said at the beginning. You can't just pressure him for one quarter. In the Super Bowl, they were beating him the first, the second, and the third quarter, and he was still able to come back and win in the fourth. I think the Jags, on all sides of the ball against the Patriots, are going to have their foot on the gas for 60 minutes. I don't care if it's 45-0. You're gonna have to keep playing to win, and I think the Jags have it in them to be able to do that for 60 minutes, to continually get pressure on Brady, to make his life miserable and to make him uncomfortable. Because if you let up, he will pounce and make you pay. And the last thing you need is a motivated Tom Brady on the other side of the ball trying to mount a comeback and beat you, because you will likely lose in that scenario.
Yeah, and the one thing that the Patriots did not have last postseason, which a lot of people thought would be the difference maker, is they did not have Gronkowski. They do this year, as well as Brandon Cooks, but so much of the Patriots' success is the short game and being able to chip away at the field, create long drives, and then once they're in the red zone, they either pound it up the middle or they give it to their big tight end who's just going to block out the defenders and just pretty much fall backwards into the end zone. You guys have Jalen Ramsey. Is this a matchup that we can look forward to, or is he going to have his hands full elsewhere? Like, what is the game plan in your mind for Jacksonville in this defense against a guy like Gronkowski?
If it were me, I would have Jalen Ramsey on Gronkowski, which I think is going to be great television. Two personalities going at it like that, big guys. I mean, Gronk's obviously bigger than Ramsey, but Ramsey isn't a small guy. He can match up with those big receivers and tight ends. I think you're going to have AJ Boye on the speedster Brandon Cooks. Boye has seemed to shown that he can keep up better with speed guys, and he's real good at being a technician. And then I think you'll have a guy like Aaron Colvin in the slot picking up the other receiver, whether it be Amendola or Hogan. And then the linebackers are good enough in coverage to where they can pick up guys like a Dion Lewis or a James White out in the backfield.
Fair enough, and we've talked obviously a lot about the matchup between Tom Brady and the Jaguars defense, that is the matchup. It's not Brady versus Bortles. It is Brady against the best defense that we saw in 2017, Saxonville. But what does Bortles need to do in this game in order to put you guys at a level, not even like the next level, but just a level to put you past the Patriots and advance to the Super Bowl?
I mean, I think if he did what he did last week, I think that could very well win an AFC championship. Obviously, if he wants to do more than that, then nobody's stopping him. But, I mean, playing a turnover-free game, passing for over 200 yards, several touchdowns, and just being able to move the ball effectively up and down the field would be great. Obviously, if Leonard Fournette can come back from that ankle injury and run on the ground like he did in Pittsburgh, that will also help. But I think a turnover-free game from Blake Bortles, and even if he does have one, to be able to shake it off and just keep going, and I think that's going to be the biggest key, is just turnover-free offense for the Jaguars is going to have to be the trick.
Now, which would you prefer, and which do you think needs to be the case going into this Sunday? Is it one where Blake Bortles creates long drives, does a lot of time of possession, keeps that in your favor, keeps moving the chains and moving the line, keeping Brady off the field? Or would you prefer and like to see your defense on the field more, because you know that against Brady, one, if they stop him, that's even better for your team and your offense. But two, it could be your guys' best chance at turnovers and points, because that's what your defense has been all season.
I mean, I never want to encourage the defense to be on the field for a long time, because if your defense is not on the field, that means they're doing something right. So I would prefer if we had the ball for long drives and ended up putting points on the board, and then the defense could force 3 and outs, because the Patriots can't score if they're not on the field. And as long as the Jaguars aren't turning the ball over, then that could be a pretty easy recipe. Obviously, it's not going to be that easy, but I would really like to see Blake be able to orchestrate some long drives, Leonard Fournette run the ball, chew clock, and just, you got to keep getting points against the Patriots. You can't have empty drives, because that'll end up hurting you in the end.
Yeah, very true. The Patriots, if they get an opportunity or if they see one, they will take full advantage of that. So it's going to be a very interesting chess matchup. The big matchup, of course, being the defense of Jacksonville and, of course, Tom Brady. Now, Leonard Fournette, my opinion, rookie of the year, but clearly has been a huge difference maker. What kind of value would you put on a guy like Leonard Fournette as far as his contribution to the team and how important it is to keep a guy like that not only on your roster but healthy?
Yeah, I mean, Leonard's been fantastic this year. I will be the first to admit that I was not fan of going running back at 4. I felt like there were bigger needs, and some needs have shown themselves this year. But nonetheless, Leonard's our guy at 4, and I hope he's going to be here for a long time because he's a damn good running back. He's been playing lights out. I mean, over 1,000 yards as a rookie, 9 touchdowns, and that was with missing 3 games this season. I think he could have easily broken 13-13 on a full schedule. But Leonard's been fantastic. I think they're going to need to improve the O-line a little more for him next year, and I think once they do that, he'll really get going. Might have a chance at 1,500 plus next year with some good guard improvements. But you need a guy like Leonard in the playoffs. You need somebody who can depend on in goal line situations because the other guys hadn't been doing it. And having Leonard Fournette, I mean, he had 8 touchdowns at Heinz Field this year, more than Le'Veon Bell, and that was just in 2 games. Fournette he won us that Steelers game, but Fournette has really been the difference maker, I think, in a lot of scenarios for the Jags this season.
Yeah, and Belichick's been very good against the run, so that'll be another very interesting matchup to see play out this Sunday. So let's go ahead then and address the Jaguar in the room, which is Blake Bortles and his future. Coming from a Jaguars fan who has seen this team at its worst and now at its best and through the rise and fall of everything, is he the guy that you want to see under center next year? Has he done enough with just these first 2 rounds of playoffs to earn that? And is this even something that a quarterback can truly earn again after they've been in the league for, 3 years now, as he was the guy, and then it's almost as if he's had to earn that back? Like, do you trust him going forward?
I believe he's definitely earned the right to come back as a starter next year. Obviously, this season's not over. If he plays lights out this week and then in route to a Super Bowl and somehow wins a Super Bowl at the same level, I'd say pay him the money because I mean he's dealt with adversity his entire career. Because Blake Bortles isn't the perfect quarterback. He knows that, and everybody knows that, but he's never pointed fingers, and he's always been a locker room guy. He's always been great to the media. I mean, with his press conferences and stuff like that, everybody in Jacksonville wants Blake Bortles to succeed, and I think that's a big misconception to national media is that everybody hates Blake Bortles. We don't. We love Blake Bortles. We would not want nothing more than Blake Bortles to be successful because he kind of embodies Jacksonville and Duval, as we put it. But I think he has shown flashes of what he can do. And if he can, I think the key word is consistency. If he can consistently have games like he did last week and improve on that and get better, and I think the Jags can still help him, having Allen Robinson come back next year, improving the O-line. And a little thing that people aren't really realizing is he's been playing with basically rookie receivers that they are pulled up from the practice squad this year. And that's really hard to do with a guy that's kind of trying to get his mojo back and still find himself in this league. Obviously, a guy like Tom Brady could do that, but he's the greatest of all time. Blake Bortles is doing this while still kind of learning the game, to be fair. But, yeah, I think Blake, I would like to see him come back, maybe even for 2 years. And if he wins the Super Bowl this year, then yeah, give him his money, give him his $90+ million, because I think he would have earned it at that point.
Fair enough. And the last question I had for you, since you're one of the few fans that I can really talk to about this, especially given the tenure that the team has been a participant in this, and that is the overseas games. I don't know if you're a season ticket holder or how many home games you've been to, but I mean, clearly this postseason run is great for the city of Jacksonville as well as the team, but your team is one that always plays a home game in London, and I don't know how you feel about playing overseas in general, or how you feel about losing one of your home games every year. I mean, like, what are your thoughts on this, and do they compensate you in any way as far as losing that one home game, or the season tickets discounted, or is there some other sort of compensation in there for a season ticket holder?
Yeah, so I'm a season ticket holder. I'm fine with playing overseas. I would much rather it not be a home game, because I don't really like losing the Eagles game next year really irked me, because I was really excited to see that game in Jacksonville. I was really excited to see Carson Wentz in that offense, and I thought that was a great opportunity for a primetime game in Jacksonville, in all honesty. But, I mean, the compensation, we don't end up paying for that game. It's not really in our package. I end up just paying for all the other home games, plus preseason games. But, I mean, I'm fine with expanding the game, because I know a lot of overseas Jags fans, and I'm glad that they get to see their team just like I do in person. So I'm fine with that. Sorry about that. But it's good to see the NFL expand. It's always good to get more fans, and the Jags fans overseas have really been great. There's definitely a lot of them over there. But yeah, I wish there was a way they can make it to where teams didn't lose an actual home game, but that'll never be the case. But you'll live with it. I'm thinking about maybe even going to London next year to see that game. It would be my first trip across the seas. So we'll see about that.
Now, if Jacksonville wins the Super Bowl, is it something where the owner, Shad Khan, would pretty much kind of hold off for a while on possibly moving the team, or would it give him even more reason to move a now championship team overseas to London? And I know that there's a lot of logistical stuff that goes along with that's been preventing it otherwise, but do you feel that it would be better or worse for the team staying in Jacksonville?
I don't think the Jags are leaving Jacksonville anytime soon. I think if London were to get a team, it would be an expansion team. Because the amount of money that Shad Khan, his own money that he's putting into the city and has promised to put into the city, he currently just bought up, him and his real estate group just bought up hundreds of acres of riverfront property to expand and build up around the stadium. He's put in hundreds of millions of his own dollars into the stadium. He's building this city up and this team up for the long haul. So I wouldn't say that a championship would affect that, because I don't think the Jags are leaving anytime soon.
All right, well, he is Chris Thornton of Locked On Jaguars, co-host with my boy Zach Goodall, and I want to thank you for taking the time to be on the show and talk all about your Jaguars, because we don't talk about them enough, but now it is the perfect time to talk about them. They have a true test against the Patriots this weekend. It is the first matchup Sunday at, 1:25, or I think it's 12:35, 12:25 Pacific, so it'll be right around that 3 o'clock time, or 3:25 Eastern for those of you in Jacksonville or New England. So, Chris, thank you so much. We'll definitely have to talk again soon, and best of luck to you and your Jags this Sunday.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. You take care.
You too.
All right, so when we come back, we'll go ahead and wrap up this Thursday edition of The Fan Show, so don't go anywhere. We will have more of The Fan Show coming up right after this. You're listening to The Fan Show, your home for all things football and nonsense. My special guest tonight, Farouk. Farouk, welcome.
He's no expert, but here's the thing. Football and nonsense is what he brings. Sports talk with a twist. It's The Fan Show!
Do you know him as Kevin from the League? It is none other than very funny Steve Ranazisi.
99% of the population doesn't know who I am. but the 1% do, they yell and scream inappropriate things at me in public.
Kyle Ray. Kyle, welcome.
And I was like, wow, I think we just saw the whole Super Bowl, Phyllis. It was like that scene in The Simpsons. Like, why rent the movie? I just saw the best part.
Funny man Brad Williams.
Yeah, I'm here. No, I flew in just for your podcast. I've heard about this podcast. I've heard it's fantastic.
It's Mac and Farva, but they are my special guests tonight. Steve Lemmy, Kevin Heffernan.
I was in Mexico for 10 weeks in a Speedo. Like, that was me going to work. I was putting on a Speedo. Like, Farva is the most fun to play, and it was a blast to do that again, to do Farva again. So then the makeup artist had to put Vaseline on your body, right? Yeah. And then put the powdered sugar on top of that. Is your name really Richard Siemens?
Listen live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night on Spreaker.com or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. All right, we are back, and don't forget, folks, just because fantasy season is over doesn't mean that you have officially crowned and rewarded your champion. In fact, if you've been trying to think of the perfect way to reward their achievement for enduring the rugged fantasy season that was all season long, then go to UndisputedBelts.com and shoot them an email and say, hey, we like what you're doing. And they have a few pre-made belts that you can pick from, 3 different designs that you can say, hey, I want this, and they'll ship it to you. And then, of course, you can send them your own designs. It's a little bit more, but you get your own fancy custom engraved belt for your league's champion. You can go to UndisputedBelts.com, tell them the Fan Show sent you, and they'll give you a little discount there. But they have belts, custom belts, and even championship rings as well. You want to check out Undisputed Belts, okay? Because they're who I use. I have gotten 4 belts from them for winners and players of the game and things like that over the course of the last 2 seasons. And I even have my own custom belt that travels with me wherever I go. So these are the guys. They're the best in the biz. Love them to death. They've been awesome throughout this whole Fan Show tenure. So Undisputed Belts on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can follow, and check out all their stuff, including the process for how they do these custom belts, just in case you're curious. But they are some of the best quality custom engraving belts that I've seen, so I highly recommend it. So we had SmackDown and Raw this week, and of course everyone's talk right now, the talk of the town is Raw 25, the big 25th anniversary of Raw, which is next Monday. And one of the speed bumps that Raw and WWE has hit this week is a bit of a narc moment. Richard Rodriguez, who is part of a steroid ring or operation named Roman Reigns as one of the high-profile people that he has done business with in the past. Roman Reigns released a statement, I believe yesterday or last night, saying that he's never heard of this Richard Rodriguez guy, and that he learned from his mistake that happened over 2 years ago and has since passed, I want to say, 11 drug tests that he's done for the WWE and their private screening operation that they do there. I mean, the WWE doesn't mess around anymore, and that'll change with Chris Benoit. So I will say that it is, if they say that they've passed and you haven't heard anything, they've probably passed. Now, I know he's the guy, so there might be a little bit of leeway there, but there hasn't been, to my knowledge, a failed drug test that's gone under the radar, because we hear about it the next day, and then we don't see that superstar for however long. But Roman Reigns, what this does with him and his Intercontinental title reign and his spotlight in all of the main events, including WrestleMania, I don't know. I think we will have a bit more knowledge of this come Monday for Raw, the 25th anniversary. What Raw 25th anniversary, I think, will do for wrestling, other than cash in on nostalgia, which is one of the best things you can cash in on these days, I think more specifically the women's division, it will give us a bit of a clue into who we can expect to see return at the first ever women's Royal Rumble, at the Royal Rumble, because there's been a lot of talk about who might come back, who might participate. We could even hear about a few of the legends and alumni entering themselves into the Royal Rumble for the men's Royal Rumble as well. But I think to give us a little bit more focus and to hype it up a bit more, I believe we could see a few of the returning divas or women to the women's division on Raw that are going to be special guest appearances say that they're going to be participating to help get some last-minute ticket sales maybe. Goldberg has been the first name to this year's WWE Hall of Fame class. Well-deserved. I thought it would be The Undertaker, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on with The Undertaker. I'm nervous. He's going to be there at Raw 25, but look, I didn't like how he ended his career. Should that be the end, him losing to Roman Reigns? I thought he could have rode off into one of the most epic sunsets of all time when I saw him beat Shawn Michaels, Hell in a Cell, beat Triple H. Hell in a Cell with special guest referee Shawn Michaels. It was one of the best matches I've ever seen. And to have them all three sort of embrace each other and raise each other's hands at the end, it's like, dude, just call it a career then. Like, I feel like you're not going to have to be that guy that has to lose in order to retire. And I'm not saying that Ric Flair was a guy that had to lose in order to retire, but it worked well with what his storyline was. It worked out beautifully. But The Undertaker, he could have called it a career then, and nobody would have thought any less of him. But instead, he kept going. He goes and he wins again at WrestleMania 29. And then he loses at WrestleMania 30 to Brock Lesnar, and a lot of people maybe thought that was the end. And then he comes back 3 more times, and then he finally loses again to Roman Reigns. I love The Undertaker, but I want him to be done. I think he needs to be done now. It's time to be done, and I know that your last match wasn't how you wanted it to go. We didn't really see a lot of vintage Undertaker. We saw a lot of injured Undertaker, but it's time. I mean, you can't go back and redo history. You can't take any of those matches back. I mean, WWE can sort of blotch out points in time if your name was Chris Benoit, but you're The Undertaker, and you've done it your way, and you can't take it back. So I think it's time to be done. And he's going to go down as one of the greatest of all time, right up there with Ric Flair, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, and Steve Austin, but it's time to be done. There's a lot of people, a lot of superstars that you can expect to see back, including the Dudley Boys, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, I think The Rock as well. The rumors are Christian's coming back. Kelly Kelly is going to make an appearance. Trish Stratus, Tori Wilson. I mean, it is a jam-packed episode, and I'm curious to see just how they do 3 hours and like 50 superstars, legends, and alumni. It's going to be absolutely crazy. I also wonder how many SmackDown superstars hop over for the special occasion, because they haven't always been, they weren't exclusively SmackDown superstars. I mean, Cena spent a majority of his career on SmackDown, the same with The Undertaker, the same with Edge, but I think that obviously The Undertaker is going to be there, John Cena is going to be there, so we'll see how many SmackDown superstars show up there, and then what happens with SmackDown the next night, because there could be some promos, yeah, but if there's a match, I mean, are you going to have them do back-to-back nights and expect it to be the same? The Mixed Match Challenge debuted this week on Facebook Live. A lot of international fans are upset because they're not in the U.S. They don't get Facebook Live or Watch or whatever it is, and they were very upset about that. And I don't quite understand the point into tapping into the Facebook thing. You have the network, okay? That's your one-stop shop, your home base for everything that you do. And although I understand the TV deal with USA and how much there is a trade-off there between the WWE and the USA Network, at some point we're going to get to where everything that you watch that is WWE is on the WWE Network. So, I mean, just cut the cords already and just move it all over. You can't watch Raw that has happened less than 30 days on the network. It has to be 30 days or more because of their contract deal with USA. And that just, to me, seems like it's just a bit of a wasted effort. Like I said, it's business. I get it. But at some point, we're just going to watch everything World Wrestling Entertainment on the network. That's how that's going to be. SmackDown was decent. Bobby Roode is your new United States champion. So congratulations to him. They sped up the tournament. I believed it was supposed to conclude at the Royal Rumble, and then it was supposed to conclude on next Tuesday's SmackDown Live, and then it concluded after both in the finals had a match each this last Tuesday night. So that was interesting to see that play out, but congratulations to Bobby Roode, well deserved. I'd like to see Dolph Ziggler come back sort of in a CM Punk way like they did with CM Punk and John Cena. Will that happen? I don't know. I kind of feel like Ziggler is gone, and the way he went out was awesome, so I'm okay with that if he's not back. But it did, the way he left made me want more Dolph Ziggler, and I feel that this is the perfect time to give them more, but I don't think that they will. So a lot is going to happen at the Royal Rumble, which is next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend. It's the same weekend as the Pro Bowl. Smart planning there by Vince and the WWE, I tell you what. And so now we have all this filler time. You're not going to see a whole lot of action, I think, on this Raw 25 or on SmackDown because that's the week of a major pay-per-view and you want to avoid, at all costs, any injury. So that was the sort of recap for Raw and SmackDown. Braun Strowman and Rusev continue to be my favorite guys on Raw and SmackDown. I mean, just put them over, give them the titles, and run with it because these guys are selling without even trying. It's so good. I was telling them a story. Oh, God, I love Braun Strowman. But next week also means that we will record another roundtable special. I'll invite some guests from the wrestling community and world out there, including former guest of the Fan Show and now Fan Show alumni, Pete Avalon, professional wrestler. He's going to be joining the roundtable, so that should be a great discussion as well. But that is going to do it for this Thursday edition of the Fan Show. Don't forget, if you're in the Spokane area tomorrow night, Hell's Bells with Elephant Gun Riot, and you can still get your tickets. You can still enter to win a Les Paul guitar from Elephant Gun Riot. Otherwise, you can get tickets at the door. It's going to be a great time. They always put on a great show. Both of these bands together are going to put on a great show from front to back. And then we've got Championship Sunday. We'll know who's going to the Super Bowl at about this time Sunday night. So don't forget, you can follow the Fan Show on Twitter, Instagram, and you can like us on Facebook. And, of course, Twitter is @FanShowOfficial. Facebook is facebook.com/FanShowOfficial. And the Instagram is simply The Fan Show. Your home base, though, for all things football and nonsense is thefanshow.com, where you can listen live, as well as on Spreaker.com. Just follow the show, and you'll get email notifications every time I hit the Go Live button. And then if you missed any of tonight, or if you can't make the live broadcast, then go and subscribe to the podcast on its available platforms, iTunes, SoundCloud, and iHeartRadio. If you'd like to go back and catch up on any episodes or relive a favorite or just tune into a random one and have a good laugh, then go and check out the Fan Show archives on thefanshow.com as well as Spreaker.com. And really, iTunes and SoundCloud will take you pretty far back as far as the early days of the Fan Show. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and remember, it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night, folks.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his own player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.